When we look, you can see families were more than willing to go to the box office to support something like the Minecraft movie, while Rachel Zegler's Snow White continues to plunge.
You probably never thought the day would come when a bunch of pixelated blocks would utterly humiliate the legacy of Snow White, but here we are. And at the center of this meltdown is none other than Rachel Zegler. After months of headlines, controversy, and tone-deaf interviews, her modern take on the beloved Disney classic has face-planted harder than anyone expected. Meanwhile, Minecraft, yes, the movie based on that little blocky video game your nephew won't stop playing, just obliterated the competition at the box office, leaving Disney's high-budget fairy tale reboot in the dust. On opening weekend alone, Minecraft raked in a jaw-dropping $300 million globally, while Snow White struggled to scrape past $77 million over multiple weeks. Let that sink in. Despite Disney's endless marketing budget and Zegler's insistence that people would wait in line to see her, the only one standing in that line ended up being Rachel herself. Critics mocked the Minecraft movie before it even dropped, saying it would be too childish or too basic to thrive. But instead, it became the unexpected family event of the year. Crowds cheered, kids screamed like they were at a concert, and theaters were packed wall to wall. On the flip side, Snow White screenings looked like ghost towns. Empty seats, cold popcorn, and an actress still trying to convince fans they're wrong for loving the original. And now, Zegler's reaction is making waves, not just because she's upset, but because insiders claim she completely broke down once the numbers came in. It wasn't just a box office failure, it was a personal humiliation. The fairy tale that launched Disney's empire just got steamrolled by a game about digging dirt blocks. And Rachel? She's stuck holding the glass slipper, and the blame. While Snow White quietly collapsed in theaters, Minecraft exploded onto the scene with a kind of energy you just can't fake. Some showings felt more like concerts than movie premieres, packed with teenagers in suits, screaming kids, and parents laughing along to every scene. Theaters were alive. In fact, a few reports even claim that security had to escort rowdy teens out because the crowd was having too much fun. Meanwhile, over at Snow White screenings, you could hear your own thoughts echoing off the empty seats. It was the cinematic equivalent of throwing a party and no one showing up, except the host, Rachel Zegler, who insisted everyone would be there. The contrast couldn't be more brutal. Jack Black's comedic voice acting helped Minecraft land with audiences of all ages, while Zegler's portrayal, and more importantly, her public persona, turned into a major liability for Disney. The film's updated themes, lack of charm, and constant distancing from the original story rubbed fans the wrong way. This wasn't just a creative misfire, it was a miscalculation of what audiences actually want. Fun, not lectures. The worst part? Early feedback wasn't ignored, it was dismissed. Fans warned Disney months in advance. They said the trailers felt lifeless, the characters unrecognizable, and the tone disconnected from the fairy tale magic everyone grew up loving. But Disney doubled down, and Zegler didn't help. She publicly mocked the original, downplayed the classic romance, and took a strangely combative tone in press interviews. She acted like audiences were the problem, and they responded by not showing up. So now, with Minecraft racking up hundreds of millions, Disney is left facing a very public embarrassment. And Rachel Zegler? She's melting down under the pressure of carrying a legacy that audiences say she never respected to begin with. Once the dust settled, Disney found itself standing in the wreckage of a failed reboot, and the finger-pointing began almost instantly. Behind the scenes, insiders describe full-blown panic mode, heated meetings, executives arguing, marketing teams being blamed for not pivoting, PR departments catching flack for not controlling Rachel Zegler's media tour, and everyone asking the same question: how did we let this happen? From the outside looking in, it's easy to place all the blame on Zegler. And to be fair, she handed critics plenty of ammo. Her infamous interviews, where she dismissed the original Snow White as outdated and patriarchal, became viral moments for all the wrong reasons. The internet doesn't forget. Fans felt insulted, not just by the creative changes, but by the attitude behind them. And when the lead actress acts like the source material is beneath her, it's no surprise people tuned out. But the reality is deeper. This wasn't just a Rachel Zegler issue, it was a Disney issue. A failure of leadership, tone, and audience understanding. The studio took one of its most iconic properties, slapped on a modern ideological lens, and hoped nostalgia would carry it across the finish line. Instead, it stumbled out of the gate and face-planted in front of the world. Meanwhile, Minecraft did the opposite. It didn't try to re-educate its audience or rewrite history. It knew what it was, a fun, colorful, action-packed movie for fans of all ages. No lectures, no condescension, just pure entertainment. And that's why theaters were buzzing with excitement while Snow White screenings resembled abandoned libraries. The contrast stung, not just financially, but emotionally. Disney poured millions into this project. They thought they had a sure win, but in chasing modern messaging, they forgot the magic. And now the fallout is unavoidable. Disney once treated Snow White like sacred ground. It wasn't just another movie, it was the movie. The film that launched the studio. The first full-length animated feature in history. The foundation of the Disney empire. And somehow, they let all that legacy turn into a liability. The studio didn't just modernize it, they dismantled it. They took apart the romance, swapped out the dwarfs for CGI creatures, erased the timeless charm, and replaced it with political undertones so loud they drowned out any trace of wonder. Rachel Zegler, cast as the new Snow White, didn't help the cause. Rather than honoring the character or connecting with fans of the original, she approached it with the energy of someone rewriting history. She publicly mocked the prince character, dismissed the fairy tale love story as creepy, and seemed more excited about tearing the story down than bringing it to life. It wasn't just a performance issue, it was a branding nightmare. And let's be real, fans weren't asking for a shot-for-shot remake, but they were hoping for a respectful reimagining that preserved the heart of the original. Instead, they got a sanitized, lecture-heavy version led by an actress who acted like she was above it all. The end result? Audiences rejected it. Hard. This wasn't just a box office failure. It was an emotional betrayal for lifelong Disney fans. People who once saw Disney as the gold standard for magic, family, and timeless stories suddenly found themselves being talked down to. And while Zegler took the public heat, Disney's boardroom knew the truth. This was a failure from the top down. The message was clear. Disney had tampered with the formula too much, and what was once legacy had officially become liability. If there's one thing Disney usually nails, it's marketing. Their campaigns are slick, strategic, and omnipresent. But with Snow White, something was off from the start. The trailers felt flat. The promotional materials were generic at best and confusing at worst. Even the posters couldn't decide on a tone. Was it a gritty reboot, a whimsical adventure, or a progressive manifesto in fairy tale clothing? No one really knew, and that was the problem. Insiders now say that the marketing team was caught between two extremes, trying to promote a film with traditional Disney charm, while tiptoeing around the polarizing interviews Zegler kept giving. And instead of owning one clear message, they tried to do everything at once, which meant they said nothing at all. Meanwhile, Rachel Zegler was out there telling people she didn't need a prince, the love story was weird, and audiences would show up no matter what, a bold prediction that didn't age well. As the box office numbers rolled in, and Minecraft soared past expectations, the tone inside Disney reportedly turned chaotic. Executives began blaming the promo strategy, saying it didn't lean hard enough into nostalgia. Others said the team should have pivoted entirely once the early backlash to Zegler's comments started snowballing online. But by then, it was too late. The damage was done. The film wasn't just tanking because of its story, it was dying from a complete lack of trust. Fans didn't feel like they were being invited into something magical. They felt like they were being sold a lecture dressed in princess clothes. And for a studio that once made its fortune on dreams and belief, that is the ultimate branding crisis. Meanwhile, Minecraft had no controversy, no drama, just a well-loved game turned into a fun film. And that simplicity? It won. While Snow White tried to reshape a legacy into a modern message, Minecraft did something radical in 2025. It just had fun. No agendas, no cultural lectures, no attempts to rewire a classic. Instead, it gave audiences exactly what they wanted: an energetic, goofy, and visually immersive escape based on one of the most beloved games of all time. And people showed up. Big time. Teens dressed in creeper hoodies, parents dragging in their kids, packed showings, theaters filled with laughter. The energy was electric, a celebration of the game's legacy and its endless imagination. Even the critics who trashed the film for being too childish were quickly overshadowed by fans flooding review platforms with love. Rotten Tomatoes? A weak 40% from critics, but a glowing 87% audience score. That's all that mattered. Because at the end of the day, it's not critics who pay for tickets, it's families looking for a good time. Meanwhile, Snow White was still trying to justify its existence. Instead of embracing the fairy tale spirit, it veered into territory that left people asking, who is this movie even for? Traditional fans felt alienated, newer audiences weren't buying in, and Rachel Zegler, once positioned as the fresh face of a new Disney era, became the unintended face of its most awkward misfire. The contrast was blinding. One film respected its source material and brought it to life with energy and love, The other treated its own legacy like a burden, something to be corrected rather than celebrated. And when it came time to choose where to spend their money, audiences made it clear: fun, familiar, and faithful beats formulaic and forced. Minecraft didn't just outperform Snow White, it exposed exactly what modern studios keep getting wrong. So what now? After all the press tours, viral interviews, and millions poured into promotion, Disney is left with a sobering truth. They misunderstood their audience badly. Snow White wasn't just a flop. It became a case study in what happens when a studio tries to repackage beloved stories without respecting the core of what made them special in the first place. You can update characters, diversify casts, and modernize elements. Fans aren't against change, but they are against condescension. Rachel Zegler's breakdown, insiders say, came not just from box office numbers, but from the realization that she'd become the lightning rod for a multi-million-dollar disaster. She didn't write the script, she didn't direct the movie, but she spoke on its behalf, and in doing so, became its symbol. Fair or not, that's how Hollywood works. And as the public continues to vent their frustration online, Disney finds itself scrambling behind closed doors to re-strategize its future. Meanwhile, Minecraft just proved what should have always been obvious. Tell a good story, respect your fans, and don't try to outsmart your own audience. It didn't matter that critics scoffed. It didn't matter that the premise seemed too simple.